This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. We may be a comic duo, but we take mental health very serious. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service and is completely online. BetterHelp is a network with over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. To get started, answer a few questions, and BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network.
You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. If your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom-picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and at a more affordable price. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/amp. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/amp.
We really don't know what we're going to do here.
We don't know what we're doing. This is our first episode. We have no clue.
We are so used to comedy and laughing and talking about retail that we're like, well, we're going to start this new podcast.
Better turn my estrogen level up.
You're in a room full of women
who
have a lot of anxiety, and they might have to go take a poop.
So we have my cousin Kylie here, and Julia's hanging out, and Kendra's hanging out, and Cass is here in the room.
Yes.
And Kylie's boyfriend Harrison is here for everyone that will hear all the background noise. Maybe we'll...
I don't know how you kept all those names straight just now.
Yeah.
I had anxiety for you.
Thanks. I actually have to say that I had a little bit, I was a little nervous. I had some nervous poops today.
Nervous poops.
I did. I was like, okay, well, I'm used to doing the clopin. Like, that's easy. That's just like people come on, they talk about their businesses.
We laugh about it.
And then today I'm like, okay, Kylie's coming over. This is completely new. This is completely different. Although we're going to bring some comedy into it because we want people to heal with laughter with us. Right. We've been through some shit. You've been through some shit. Everyone in this room's been through some shit.
Yes.
So we're just going to talk about it.
We're going to talk about the
shit. And we're going
to
laugh about it.
We're going to talk about the shit that makes us shit.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Kylie?
Yeah, so I am currently finishing up grad school. I'm working on my doctorate of physical therapy. Ooh. So next year I'll be able to take my boards and then I will be a certified doctor of physical therapy.
Amazing. And then you can teach me how to stretch.
I can do that now, honestly. Yes. I would say Meredith has always talked about me fixing her knees once I'm done with school.
Yes.
So that's, she's my first patient for sure.
Okay. I will be.
I'm piggybacking on that. We're coming together.
Absolutely. But I've also played softball in college, and now since I can't play anymore, I'm coaching locally near my school.
Can I ask why you can't play anymore?
I'm too old. I aged out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I technically still have 2 years of eligibility left at the NCAA level, but I've been gone for too long that it's just kind of evaporated.
Yeah. Okay.
So you left for a while and then came back?
No, COVID ended my senior season.
Oh, that's right.
I just
COVID.
I know.
Ruins everything.
Sick.
But honestly, playing softball in college is probably one of, if not my most proud accomplishment, because I walked on as a sophomore. So being a walk-on, especially at a D1 school, is very difficult to begin with. And then I did it as a sophomore, which is, I haven't heard of anybody else doing that. So I'm really proud of myself for being able to do that.
We're proud of you for that.
Persistence is key.
Yeah.
Did you play softball in high school too?
Yeah, I've been playing since I was about 5. Okay. I did a lot of Park District, and then I didn't do travel until I was in late junior high, honestly. And now everybody's starting at like U6. I'm just like, you're traveling at U6. These kids can't even throw the ball right.
Oh my God.
Can you tell people what that means?
Yeah, I don't know.
So softball, baseball too, they're divided up by age levels. So if it's like 10U, it means 10 years old and under.
Okay.
But usually it's more around kids that are 9, 10, sometimes even 11 if they have a late birthday.
Okay.
So, and like the team I'm coaching now is considered 18U. So it's 18-year-olds and under, but we have 2 girls that are freshmen in college, and they have a late birthday, so they can still qualify as 18 and under.
Okay.
So it's fun, and especially because I can't play anymore. I really, really enjoy coaching. I've been doing that for about 3 years now, actually.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's just so fun, and being able to like share my knowledge and everything. And my favorite moment is when they get their little aha moment and something clicks, and then they're like, "Oh my God, I got it!" And then
that's awesome.
Just makes me proud and gives me validation that what I'm teaching them actually works. So
would you?
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
No.
Would you say that your softball coaching relieves your anxiety?
Yes. I look forward to it a lot, especially like whenever I'm having like a bad day. Like obviously, if the players aren't really there and they're not really trying, that makes my job a little bit difficult, and I get frustrated because like I can't make them want to do it.
Right.
So that's on them. But like whenever they do get that aha moment, and knowing that I helped them get there is super validating for me.
Very rewarding.
Can you explain the difference between anxiety of being a player and anxiety of being a coach?
So anxiety of being a player, at least for me, it's like I don't want to mess up. I was played under a lot of coaches where like if you messed up, specifically me, I would get pulled. Like I was never necessarily a coach's favorite, but like I always laid it out on the line. I always gave my best. But I was always afraid of messing up because I didn't want to get pulled. So I was always playing scared instead of like trying to like play the ball.
Yeah.
So obviously that would lead to more errors than there should have been.
Of course.
Whereas like a coach, like I wouldn't say I get as anxious, at least I hope not. I've never really reflected on it until now.
She's older now, she's used to it. She's like, oh, what's this stuff? Am I anxious?
I'm more like anxious for my players because like especially people that have been struggling and like I've been working with them, I want them to be able to have that moment where like they get their moment. So being able to be there and encourage them, and like I want them to do well, so I think it's more I'm anxious for them in that aspect.
Do you think that you coach differently because of what you went through?
Absolutely.
Like you don't show it on your face if you're disappointed, like, oh, we just went through that last week and you still did the same thing, or like how does that change?
I'll be honest, I wear my heart on my sleeve and I wear my emotions on my face. So
okay.
I try not to. I will give that little, like,
yeah.
Come on, you could have had that.
Yeah.
But like I just playing under the coaches that I played. I was not a coach's favorite. I always was the one that had to work my way from the ground up.
And can you explain more of that? Like, why weren't you the favorite?
A lot of it was politics, of course.
Okay.
A lot of daddy softball. So like coaches' daughters got preference, and my dad coached me for like the first couple years when I was in Park District. I was really young, but then he got taken away with like work and stuff.
Sure.
I wanted to keep playing, so like I just played under other coaches.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, but it got really bad once I started doing travel. I remember one instance. I used to be a pitcher, and the coach's daughter was a catcher. And I was pitching very well, and I threw a changeup. With people who don't know that, it's like an off speed, or it's a lot slower than like your fastball. It's meant to like throw off hitters in terms of like their timing and balance and things like that. So it can be really useful. I threw one, and it was a strike, and the coach's daughter did not catch it correctly, and she somehow, quote unquote, broke her finger. I don't think she really broke it, but that's what she claimed.
She jammed it.
Yeah.
She was being super dramatic.
Right. And then I got pulled because I hurt her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was just one instance of that. And then I played on like a feeder team that most of the girls on the team went to my same high school. And the head coach of my feeder team was buddy with the head varsity coach at the high school, and he talked up every single girl on my team except me. So it was literally me and one or two other girls from my team that got held down on freshmen, and the rest of my team went up to JV or varsity.
What the hell?
But the irony was my freshman year I batted .632 and like good is like 300.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So I was like .632 is unheard of. And then it was after that point where over the summer, if we weren't playing on like an elite travel ball team, we were expected to play on our high school summer ball team. And I got pulled up to varsity for that summer, and I think I batted like 4 something then too.
Oh, wow.
So then I got pulled up to varsity my sophomore year, but then I was kind of bouncing back and forth between JV and varsity. Like I wasn't getting as much playing time on varsity, but I liked the experience of being up there.
Right.
Versus like on JV, like wasn't really good softball
challenging.
Still.
Right.
Right.
You got to challenge yourself in order to get better.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And like I love a challenge, and like especially I really like pressure situations when I'm batting. Like most people like freak out, and I'll admit I had my freakouts at times too, because again, it goes back to the whole thing of not wanting to mess up, and I want to make sure that I do my job so my coach wants me in there in those situations.
Again, the fear of being pulled though.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it happened not only to me, but it happened to other people too, because they were so hardcore. It's like softball and baseball, like it's a game of failure.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like batting, like you can get out 7 out of 10 times and you're considered amazing because you're batting 300. Like that was all conference, all area accolades. Even if you got out 8 out of 10 times, you were batting 200, and like that was still considered decent. So that's one thing that I picked the wrong sport to not want to fail at, because it is a game of failure.
Yeah. And you were a pitcher, right? The whole time, or?
No, so I pitched up until my sophomore year of high school, I want to say. Yeah, because I unfortunately tore my rotator cuff.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So, I mean, I was playing volleyball at the same time too, so all the overhead sports and stuff. And then now I know that I had very incorrect mechanics, so that ultimately led to why I had so many shoulder injuries. I started going to physical therapy for my shoulder since I was 12.
I remember we have a video. Is it at Uncle Chris's wedding?
Yes.
And it's Steven and Kylie.
Yeah, and I'm dancing in my sling.
And she's dancing in her sling.
Because it was like a week after my surgery.
Yeah, do you remember that? I mean, it's been a while. He's been married for a long time, but I think I probably still have it somewhere. And Steven's
VHS.
dancing, and she's trying to do her best with hanging on to the sling.
He was little Michael Jackson over there, just like whipping out the moves, and here I am in my sling, just like.
But the one thing
around.
I remember is that she was hurt. You know, she was injured, and it was from softball. I remember that.
I still have a picture of me. I caught the bouquet that at that wedding
with
too.
one
Did you?
arm.
With one arm?
And I have a picture of me
gosh.
in the sling holding the bouquet.
Oh my gosh.
So when you started going to physical therapy, is that when you knew you wanted to be in the field?
Yeah, so I really enjoy helping people. I love volunteering. Like it makes me feel good. It's kind of selfish.
What is it about your family? They're like
We're just
so
amazing
good.
people. We're amazing.
I'm definitely not making it to heaven with you guys.
But yeah, like I just love helping people, and it's kind of selfish, but like making other people happy makes me happy. So like,
that's
I find
not
my
selfish
happiness
at all. You know,
Yeah, like,
I wouldn't say that.
I find my happiness through other people, so I kind of rely on other people to make me happy. So
It's your
I guess
love
that's
language.
the kind of right.
Yeah.
I guess that's the kind of like downfall of it, but I really enjoy it, and I always came out better than when I went in. I had a great physical therapist and like the whole staff that worked with me. I always had such a positive experience that I wanted to be able to help people like that too. And I knew I couldn't have a desk job because being an athlete my whole life, like I can't sit still.
No.
Like even like sitting in lecture halls still,
Her too.
right?
Yeah.
Like even just like sitting in lectures still, like I'm constantly like getting up and readjusting how I sit because like I can't sit still.
Are you a pen clicker?
No,
No.
thankfully not. I recently started taking notes on my iPad, so there's not really a pen click to click,
okay.
but like I am one of those people that like taps my fingers on
Yes,
the desk and
me
things
too.
like that.
She's
Or
actually doing pretty good here recording, though.
Yeah.
You know how a lot of
I know my legs are bouncing.
Yeah, they're always like,
people usually tap the table. I'm like, okay, stop that, because you can hear that on the recording. She's actually doing pretty good.
I was gonna say you just can't see my legs bouncing crazy under the table.
And she moves her hands a lot when she's talking, which is
I get
good.
that from my mom.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Johnny told me one time I should be an airplane director because I'm always talking with my hands.
Yeah.
Well, they say a body in motion stays in motion.
Yeah.
That is
I
true.
mean, and that's true,
not true
right?
because I love my naps. But
And
other
she's on
than
her feet all the
napping,
time.
I'm always moving.
I did not appreciate naps until I got into college. Like I would wake
man.
up and I would plan when I could take my nap through the day between
Yes. So
practice
funny.
and classes and stuff. Like I would wake up and be like, okay, I think I can sneak a 20-minute nap in
Yeah.
here.
And that's really all you need, right? Like, so before we came over today, I was like, man, I just need a nap. Like, we had bonfire last night. We were drinking. And I was like, I need a nap. I laid down for 15, 20 minutes and I never fell asleep. But I laid there comfortably listening to the TV, listening to everybody in the house. And then I like got up and I'm like, I feel so much better.
Yeah,
just
the little
resting
subconscious
for a little
sleep.
bit. Yeah.
You plan your naps, and I plan meals and snacks.
See, I always think about food, so I don't even plan that.
I
I'm
was
just
gonna
like,
say,
okay,
like,
where's the snacks?
I do it all.
Where's the next meal?
I'm eating my banana in the morning and I'm like, what am I going to have for lunch today?
I'm not alone. I feel so much better.
Snack queen for sure.
Yes.
Every time, like, I would even go out with my friends, like, even if we're just going to the bar for, like, a drink, like, I always stash at least 2 fruit snacks and a granola bar in my purse.
Perfect.
I can't go out without
I was just telling
snacks.
Julia, she's having some sugar, right, up and down, and I said, you got to just bring snacks. Always
Yeah.
just have snacks. So, of course, we're not very healthy. So we went to go over to Bath and Body Works today, and I'm like, hey, I got you a Reese's peanut butter cup just in case your sugar drops. Not that I'm bringing an apple.
Meredith
or anything.
just
course
wanted
not.
an excuse to eat one herself. Are you ready
We
for
got
that yet?
donuts this morning, and I'm just like, wow, I haven't had a donut
Oh,
in
my
forever.
gosh.
Really?
I haven't had a donut in forever either, actually.
mean,
Working in bakery has caused me to not have donuts. but
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. This is actually sports performance anxiety. Okay. So I
Oh,
looked up sports
okay.
performance anxiety because I get that. So even though I've been running for years, I go to show up to a race and it's like I'm in the porta potty 5 times.
Oh God.
And it's not, sometimes it's not poop, right?
And so you have the
Sometimes I
nervous
just have to
peas.
pee.
The
Yeah,
nervous
the
peas. I get those.
So I was like super curious if I'm the only one, because I've ran with people. Like I start races with people and then we see each other at the end and we have our beer. But like I'm the one that's constantly using the washroom and I can't be the only one. So that makes me feel better.
I get it more, the nervous peas, before like exams, to be
Yes.
honest.
Oh.
Not so much like before like a game or whatever, but like, yeah, more like exams, at least, because that's what I've been dealing with most recently. I haven't
Focusing
played in
on,
like
yeah.
3 years now, so.
Yeah.
So I want to know, this is so personal, but here's what I want to know. So when I run a race, in the beginning you have the porta potties and then I go for the race and then usually I'm fine, right? Once I get started and the body feels good and you finish your whatever miles. Softball, I feel like you have the crowd constantly watching. You're just in this circle.
Right.
Like, how do you handle being nervous and like, do you have to walk off? Do you have to use the bathroom? Like, how do you handle that?
So I actually saw one of our sports psychiatrists because I was having performance anxiety.
Yeah.
One of my issues was
I thought that only happened to men.
no. Sorry, sports performance anxiety. Let me specify. But like I had ever since, so one of the ways I guess the way that I tore my rotator cuff, like it started out as like an overuse injury with like micro tears, but I ended up diving for a ball in softball and I landed weird and I twisted, and then that's when I felt the pop that actually tore it. So ever since then, I've been terrified of diving for balls because like I never was properly taught like how to dive. Like I just more or less fall.
Yeah.
Like there's actually a correct form, believe it or not, but like I was never taught it. So I had this huge fear of diving, and I was met with our team sports psychologist, and she actually came to the field with me one time and was just throwing me balls and like making me dive.
Wow.
And then even like during practices, like team practices, even if it wasn't even close, I would make myself dive just because I had to get out of that like scared mindset.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Luckily I didn't hurt myself, so I finally figured it out. But then I also figured out ways to, like, I wouldn't necessarily like dive straight forward if the ball's in front of me. Like I learned there's other ways, like you can slide and catch it and just work around it almost, so that I had options.
Yeah.
But then in terms of like when I'm batting, a lot of times like if we picked up things on pitchers, in terms of like gives, like, okay, like she does this with her hand when she's going to throw this pitch.
Right.
People on the bench, we would have somebody call out like sit in terms of like if they were going to throw a changeup, or say their number if we knew that it was going to be outside or things like that. My issue was when I'm in the box, all I focus on is the pitcher's hip because that's where she releases the ball. Like I never heard anything. Like I never heard teammates cheering for me.
They're like, we told you she was going to throw
exactly.
that.
And I was like, I'm sorry. Like I literally can't hear you.
Yeah.
But that took a lot of practice too, just being able to zone in and focus. And then my sports psychologist also helped me develop like a better routine. Like I always had like somewhat of a routine, like going up to bat, like, okay, like I step my right foot in, I twirl my bat to this one logo on it and I stare at it and I give myself 2 deep breaths, and then I would just kind of step in and be like, okay, let's go. But then she helped me slow it down and really focus on my breathing, and that it was to be more effective. So not like rushing the breaths, like really take them in. And then I started adding like self-talk to myself, and I'm like, okay, you got this, or I got this. And like just to help hype myself up a little bit.
So when you're approaching home plate, right, as a batter, do you have all the time in the world? Like, is everyone waiting for you where you felt like you were rushed to quick breaths and then let's go? Or like how much time is there?
Yeah. So it's not like the major league now where there's a pitch clock, thank God.
Okay.
Because I know that's been a huge issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, not so much in softball. A lot of times it was either like the ump rushing you, like, okay, batter, can you get in the box already? But then
you're like, I'm doing my meditation.
Exactly. But then like
My therapist told me to breathe.
exactly. But then my biggest issue usually was the pitcher was ready before I was. So I would do my breathing. I'd step in the box, stare at my bat, twirl my bat, and then I wouldn't look up to the pitcher until I was ready. So I'd get my feet set, get my hands set. I'm like, okay, here we go. And then I look at the pitcher and she was already starting her motion.
Oh,
wow.
So we call that quick pitching. So a lot of times you would have to physically like put your hand up to the ump and be like, can I have time, please?
Yeah.
And then he'll put his hand up and tell the pitcher, like, hold on until you put your hand down. So that was usually like the frustrating thing, was when the pitchers were just trying to quick pitch, because then they were getting in their groove.
Yeah,
and
I was gonna say they were probably in their
Right,
shit.
right,
They wanted
exactly.
to do it and keep going. Yeah,
In their
Right.
shit, is that like technical terms?
in
for
their shit.
in their groove.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So signs of it. of the sports performance anxiety. I was going to say performance anxiety. Tremors. Hands shaking.
Yeah.
It says. Like it says, it gave an example of like holding a tennis racket and shaking. Racing heart. Hyperventilation.
Oh, wow.
Muscle tension. Bathroom troubles.
Poop in your pants.
The whole reason why we're here.
Yeah.
So
I feel like muscle tension, definitely.
Yeah,
right?
That one for sure.
Yeah.
Whenever I get super tense, like I know like my shoulders hike. So then I have when I take my deep breaths, I physically have to like drive my shoulders down and be like, can you relax, please?
Yeah.
Can we all just take a deep breath and then bring our shoulders down? Everybody together now. Bring your shoulders down. I hope everyone listening just did that.
Yes, take a deep breath.
But then the heart racing for sure. And that's why, again, like I would really have to focus on taking like 2 deep breaths and then the little like, calm down. You're fine. Like you got this. And then I'll be like, okay, here we go.
We were talking last night about teeth clenching.
Oh,
I do that,
I'm
right?
horrible at that.
Like you'll realize in the middle of doing something that your jaw is so tight and you're like, whoa, relax a little.
Yeah, I was clenching my teeth so bad that my dentist said I have to start wearing a night guard.
Yes.
Yep.
But I will say it's helped quite a bit.
Has it?
And it's helped with my migraines too. Because then I'm not clenching so bad.
Yeah.
You know, I started Invisalign last year and
Yes.
mine are so much better because I'm constantly wearing them. And when I clench, it doesn't matter because I'm clenching on the plastic.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and my thing is like, I don't like the feeling of my teeth clenching on the plastic. So then I don't even clench my teeth.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
feels weird.
I know, Meredith, your teeth look really good too, by the way.
They're getting there. They're getting there. Yeah.
They're
I'm not smiling. I'm purposely not going to smile
Look
right now.
at me right now.
Okay. Mental signs of sports anxiety. Intense fear of failure. We just talked about that. Disrupted focus. Kind of talked about that, right? Overthinking.
Yep. That's
right.
Kylie.
With the
If you could describe Kylie with 2 words, it'd be perfectionist and overthinking.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
She's the reason why
Okay,
I wanted her on
lied.
this first one.
Oh, and then third is overcompetitiveness.
Oh,
Yes.
But that runs in my family.
No way.
Yeah.
Aw.
Not mine. We are cool with being medium.
So I grew up with Kylie's mom,
Yes.
Susie.
Yep.
Yes.
And yes, she was in gymnastics and she was very competitive. And I think I'm like a better person because of her mom, because her mom is really like, like make it right. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Well, and she got that from her mom. Like my grandma,
Absolutely.
like she is the biggest, what's the word I'm looking for? Scam in terms of ping pong. Like she's like, oh, like I'm kind of good. And then next thing you know, she has her hand on the table just whacking.
Oh
it.
my God.
I remember that. Oh my gosh.
Harrison
that is so
can
funny
even
that you
attest
bring
to that.
up. Years and years ago, I remember she kind of like looked at the
like
paddle
twirled
like,
it.
wow, what is this? I don't even know what to, and all of a sudden she's like, pump, 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 pump. Like
She's a hustler.
She's a hustler.
Oh my God.
Well, and then she would play board games with my cousin Zach when he was really young. And like, he's like, Grandma, you're supposed to let me win. And she was like, the F I am.
I think
you
she
will
got that
win
from
when
her
you
mom.
deserve the win.
Yeah. I think Grandma Geist definitely like to win at cards and all that
That's so
too.
funny.
Yeah.
You know what? That was Johnny's mom too, and she would cheat. She would cheat at. What did they play all the time? They played that Phase 10. Phase
what is
10. It's you got to get different. It doesn't matter the rules. Anyways, she would.
Either
cheat.
way, she would cheat and she would win.
She would win.
The last part of mental signs is reduced self-confidence. And
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
want to, I want to touch on that.
Absolutely.
I want to touch on that because I just want to hear it from somebody else because I definitely have a low self-esteem issue when it
I
comes
feel
to
like-
just running. We'll talk about sports. So
self-esteem is a hard thing to achieve, right? You have to love yourself, and that's like the first thing. And a lot of people don't do that. So I feel like self-esteem is a huge one.
So I am later in life when it comes to sports. And I've talked about this before. Like I did not have any self-esteem to be in sports. I was in sports like I did cheerleading and track and volleyball, but I sucked at all of them because I didn't have this powerful self-esteem that I have now that I can go show up at a race line and go race and know that maybe I'll win my age group or maybe I have won before.
Yeah.
And the confidence, right.
Yes.
I just never had it. So how did you handle that? How did you deal?
I mean, I'll be honest, I've struggled with self-esteem ever since I or as long as I can remember. Like even to this day.
Must run in the family.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
I think it goes back to me being a perfectionist and then me being so overly competitive that like I hate losing more than I like to win. Like that's how competitive I am.
Yeah.
So
like winning is expected.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just I hate losing. I hate losing. Like even if like I didn't play my best, but we still won. Like that's what I care about.
Yeah.
Like I was a trophy hunter. Like I wanted all the trophies. And like, even when I was younger, like I quit playing soccer because I felt like I was too good for my team.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And like we kept losing and I was like, I don't want to be on these losing teams.
Yeah.
So I quit, but then my sister kept with it and then she just kept getting more trophies than me. And I was like, I need to go back. She's getting way too many trophies than me. But like, I didn't want those participation ones that everybody expects nowadays. Like I wanted a legit
I was gonna totally
trophy.
bring that up. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, that's a whole joke and a half.
Let it out, girl. Let it out.
But I think a lot of it, my self-esteem issues always stemmed from my coaches because again, that fear of failure. Like if you are going to mess up, you are going to get pulled or you're going to get consequences for it. But being a perfectionist in a game of failure, it just really takes a toll on you because, now I remember what I was going to say.
Okay. Perfect.
It's because I just can't stand the thought of not being enough.
Yeah.
So my thing is my self-confidence always stems from I'm not enough. And then it carried over into school. Like I'm not doing well enough in school. Like I was super competitive in the classroom too. Like I remember in 7th grade, I had this one kid that sat next to me in my math class and I hated him so much because we would always go back and forth on who had the higher exam score.
Oh my gosh.
And like, I wanted to be the best. So just not being able to rise to my own expectations and like, I realize now that I had very unrealistic expectations of myself. I remember one instance specifically, my senior year of high school, we played a team that wasn't that very good, but like I went 4 for 5 on the day. And I was bawling in the car when my mom picked me up because I didn't go 5 for 5.
Yeah.
Like 4 for 5 is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And I was crying because I didn't get 5 out of 5. I was like, they were a bad team. I should have had it. Like, blah, blah. And my mom's like, Kylie, do you hear yourself?
Yeah.
Like
that sounds just like what Sue would say.
She's like, Kylie, do you hear yourself? And that's one thing too, is like my parents never like put a lot of pressure on me to like do well.
I literally was just going to ask you.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
do you
yeah.
feel like it comes from your family?
No, not at
because
all.
Like, where does
grandma-
it come from? That's
Grandma
what I
was
know.
kicking your ass at ping pong, you know,
Yeah.
and then like
Right.
that was like expected. But no, your parents weren't
No.
like that.
No, not at
No.
all. And I think it's because like I was just so competitive and I wanted to be the best that like I set these super high expectations of myself. And then because I had the low self-esteem, like achieving these things gave me validation that like I am good enough. I
Yeah.
am smart enough. I am enough.
Isn't
So
it sick that we even think of ourselves as not being enough?
Especially when we don't know where it came from. Like no one's
Right.
pressuring her. This
Yeah.
is something
No.
that she has made up in her
Yeah.
own mind. Like I'm not enough, or I'm. You wonder where you get that from. Like where
Yeah.
does it all start?
I think you were something else in your past life that made
I
you.
must have
You know what I
been.
mean?
Yeah. I don't know.
But what?
Like I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know either.
I don't know. But like what's
I
even
was gonna think of something clever, but I couldn't.
can't.
but like my mom's a teacher, so everyone's like, "Oh, your mom's a teacher. She expects you to get good grades and do
she's
that."
not like that though.
No, not at all. So
Yeah.
I don't really know where it stems from besides the fact that I want to be the best. In my mind, I have to be the best, otherwise I won't get this recognition that I crave. And that's where I've always been a seeker of like external validation. And like
Yeah.
I relate that back to coaching now, like seeing my girls succeed and knowing that like I helped them do that. It's like, okay, I am good at what I do. Like
Yeah.
I actually know what I'm talking about.
So I feel like, just in those few sentences that you said, and you were like, oh, your mom's a teacher, so she expects the best from you, but you didn't feel like that. But do you think her saying, I just want you to do your best and I want you to have fun, do you think that put it in your head?
Like
that
your brain went,
I must
"Oh,
do
do my
good and I must
best."
have fun, you know?
Mhm.
Like, I don't know. That's just me like, whatever, you know, like.
Good
Honestly,
I don't know if there's an answer to that, you know?
Well, it's kind of the opposite. Like my mom was always trying to talk me down. Like she's like, Kylie, like that's still good. Like,
Right.
like I got like a B+ on an exam or something, and I was like, I should have gotten an A because so and so got an A, and I'm smarter than them. And she's like, Kylie, like you still did good.
Yeah.
And then like the softball analogy I just told about like going 4 for 5 on the day.
Yeah.
Like she's like, Kylie, like that's still good.
Right.
Like stop putting all this excess pressure on yourself. So I just thought that now that I think about it, that is pretty interesting. Because
very great question, Cass.
I love
like
it.
most
I
people,
love it.
they say that they get their pressure from their parents, but my
Yeah.
parents were never like that. Now that I think about it, it all came from me. And I would like to think that like, oh yeah, like my parents were super hard on me. And like, it wasn't like that at all.
No.
They're very supportive.
Yeah. Like they genuinely wanted me to do my best, try my best. And I was the one that
all of
was
that
upset.
support made you obsessed about it,
Probably.
you know?
Yeah. Like
I
I
don't know.
didn't want to let them down.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So Harrison's hanging out with us.
Yeah.
This is your boyfriend of how many years?
Or
Hey,
So-
everyone.
He's
yeah, we're working on that.
Cass just pointed at her ring finger. So how is it with relationships? Harrison, is she very competitive? Like
She puts a lot of pressure on herself.
Okay.
And I've tried to talk her down a lot as far as like, babe, you're good. You're there. You are good enough. You're great. But she still adds that extra added pressure, especially with school, with life, with coaching, with a lot of endeavors that she has. She just adds this extra pressure. And that's where it's like, I think we've still tried to figure out where that comes from as far as like,
Yeah.
okay, is it a competitiveness like with your sister? Is it outside factors that maybe some people or some coaches have kind of slammed you down in the past and now you're just trying to prove that I am good. I'm better than that. Like your words mean nothing to me.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's an ongoing battle for sure. And as far as self-esteem goes, I mean, I've tried to boost her up as far as like, okay, babe, you can do this. With PT school when she didn't make it the first time. Okay. It's like, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Because you know what? You're back doing it and
Yeah.
you're trying again. And guess what? You're doing better than you did the last time. So,
yeah.
Very true.
oh no,
So-
And it's tough. We talked about it.
Yeah.
It's very tough.
self-esteem is a continuing act that you have to continue on. I mean, you can't just have it once and then all of a sudden it's just going to be there. That's a trait that you have to continually work on. And because your body's going to change, your emotion's going to change, your mentality is going to change. And that's where a lot of things in life outside your outside factors and in your head, you all have to adapt to that. And so that's why self-esteem is something that you constantly have to be working on.
Yeah.
I feel like you're very hard on yourself, obviously, you said.
No shit.
And and you, and not to get like godly, but like, you know, people always say God gives the strongest people like the biggest battles.
Right.
So you being so competitive and like, I have to do this and I have to be the best, and then failing, but still going back and proving to yourself that like you can do this is like one of the most inspiring things ever. So,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
I will say that college really humbles you.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, especially what you're going to do. I
Yeah.
mean, now I can't even imagine doing
Yeah.
that.
it's
you
just
know?
it's been a really long battle and struggle, honestly, and I'm thankful that he's been here to help me through a lot of it, especially the
Yeah.
last couple of years. Because it's gonna sound super braggy, but I'm not doing that. Like, I never had to really study in high school. Like,
Yeah.
I was just
Right.
very naturally smart, and like, I like any class that I needed to quote unquote study for, it was like math, and like you could do practice problems to like study. Whereas
Yeah.
in my field now, it's all medical knowledge. There's no way to study that. Like, you can't do practice problems. It's literally you just have to learn this and then know this and be able to recall it later.
Do you want me to fall down and then you can practice?
So actually, I remember you telling us at your sister's graduation, you have to learn a process. Like you have to teach. Can you share that? Like how you had to do the test? Do you remember? She was telling us.
Oh, yeah.
Like
So
it's
actually-
like a process of what you have to do, and she has to hit all the right steps, or it's a fail.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
So-
So it's not just knowing all of it; it's how you're going to
Doing
teach
it.
the teachers
Yeah.
how you're doing it. Right? Can you explain that?
So I actually, So my school calls it the Festival of Knowledge, and it is not fun or festival-ish at all.
Festive, not festive.
Like, it's not anything like it sounds. Because when you think festival, you're like, oh my gosh, like fun.
Cotton candy.
No, right. But in reality, this was a 4-hour exam.
Yeah. Well,
So I actually just redid it last week, and I found out I passed. So
Yay! Congratulations.
Thank you. But it is very stressful because, so how it starts out is you get a half hour to quote unquote prep, and you're given this sheet. It's basically a 4-hour long, but it's broken up. Like if you were to see a patient for the very first time in clinic, like what your evaluation would be like. So you get half an hour to review their fake intake sheet, like what they say, like, oh, I have back pain here and it's affected my sleeping and stuff like that. So then you can help cater what questions you want to ask them, and then you have 30 minutes to do an interview. So that's when you're trying to get as much information as possible. Like, tell me about your prior medical history, or does cancer run in your family? Just like things like that, because there's so many different factors that contribute to low back pain.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it can be so many different things. Like it can literally stem from an issue at your foot or your knee, or your hip that's going to cause low back pain, because like your body is so intertwined,
right?
That the slightest
in line,
right?
Yeah.
So like the slightest change in alignment or structure down here is going to affect something way up the chain.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. So then after you do your interview, you get 50 minutes to prep for what we call a psychomotor portion. So that's where you go in and there's a note card on the table and you pick it up, and that's the test or measure that you have to perform on your quote unquote patient in front of the exam grader. And you get,
this is giving me anxiety.
I know,
now.
right?
Just listening.
I'm gonna go take a poop. I'll be right
back. Take a break. We'll be right back.
that is honestly the most stressful part, because we've learned upwards of like 200 tests or measures over the last couple years, and like you literally pick one card and you have no idea what card it is.
Right. I was just going to ask. It's different every time, right?
Yeah. And like we didn't even know what the pain region was, or like the region that we were assessing going into the thing. Like it could have been a shoulder one, it could have been a knee, but we got hip and low back. Yeah. So it's like, okay, so I don't need to know any of the shoulder ones or things like that, but like we've learned hundreds of special tests and measures. So to just randomly pull that one, you're like, okay, how do I do this one again?
Yeah. Right.
But thankfully I got an easy one, so shouts to my grader for that one.
Yeah.
So then you perform that, and then you have to explain why you're doing it, what you're assessing, and like what implications would be. So like if they tested positive for this one special test, like what does that implicate? Or if they tested negative, what does that implicate?
Wow.
And then you have to relate it back to the case at hand. So like, how does this relate to the patient? So then based off of that, you have to come up with a intervention. So like any kind of stretching or strengthening or anything like that to help fix one of the priority impairments. So like my person had short hip flexors, so like couldn't get all the way into hip extension when they were walking. So my test was literally just to have them do like a nice quad stretch and then push their hips forward so that they could feel it all the way up their leg. And then you'd hold that for 3 sets of 30 seconds. And like, that was my intervention. And then we would go into a manipulation. So usually like any joint mobilization. So if you have a hypomobile hip, for example, so that means like you're lacking motion in it. So you would just apply certain pressure in certain areas of the hip. I did it, they were laying on their stomach, and we were trying to get more motion in the front so that way they could still get more hip extension. So just
Can I just say that I have all of these things?
I got you. I'm really confident on low back and hip now.
All of these things that you're explaining.
When can we start scheduling with you? Next year, you said?
Yeah.
2024 will be all so much better.
But yeah, so then after that, like I just have to explain to my grader why I'm doing something, what it's trying to achieve, and like how it would relate to the case at hand. And so then after that, we go and then we get another 50 minutes to fill out a whole documentation form.
Oh, the paperwork.
Oh, yeah.
Always the paperwork.
Yeah.
The dreaded paperwork.
Right. So then we have an hour to do that. And then once you're done with that, you were done. So
wow.
it's, yeah.
That is crazy.
So do you still have another final test after this?
Yeah.
You have some school yet?
I just have one final exam on Tuesday.
Oh, really?
And
I mean,
then
so
I'm
you're
done.
like done.
Yeah, just about.
Oh,
And then
okay.
I start clinicals in 2 weeks.
Okay.
My pulse just went up when you said on Tuesday.
I know. I'm really nervous too. I'm just like, because it's cumulative also.
Wait, what does that mean?
It's over the entire semester.
Oh, God.
Oh my God.
So like you got to remember stuff that you learned
From
way back there.
all the way in
and-
the first week of
God.
January.
Oh,
Wow.
Lord. Okay.
That's a little stressful.
Okay.
A
Amazing.
little stressy.
Good luck to you.
Thank
Yeah.
You know what? I am very confident that you're going to do just fine.
Yeah.
I feel pretty good because
Yeah.
so I'm only taking this class this semester because it was the one that I did not do the greatest last semester.
Oh, okay.
I did have a couple extenuating circumstances that happened before the exam, and I think that's why I had issues with
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
Sure.
And honestly, like that broke me because I was already a year behind in the program. I had to take gross anatomy twice. And in gross anatomy, you have to dissect dead bodies.
Oh.
So that was really fun.
That's not fun.
It was bad enough doing a frog in high school.
Right. Like it was really cool though. Like nothing, I will say nothing grosses me out now though. After
Really?
seeing that.
Yeah. Okay.
But I had some unfortunate deaths in the family that first summer. So it just kind of carried over. So,
Yeah.
but now like I'm doing well. I'm doing amazing in this class that I'm taking now, even though I did horribly last year.
Yeah.
Like not to brag, but my second exam I got last year was a 71 and this year I got an 89. So I was
Yay.
Good.
look at
Very
me go.
good.
So
Very good.
do you agree or disagree? Sometimes you need to fail and then
To
find
achieve.
out like it's fine. I survived it and I'm a rock star now.
Yeah, when I was saying earlier, like college is very humbling. Like
Yeah.
that was Vincent's I was talking about because like I didn't know how to study, and this was like a notoriously hard class, and just not knowing how to go about it, and then having all these other circumstances and stuff. I've never failed anything in my life, so like it took a huge toll on me.
Yeah.
But I was able to come back and do good, and then
And you survived.
right.
Yeah.
So this class that you're taking now, do you have a different teacher?
No,
It's the same.
It's the same.
So it's you just really knowing. It's not, I was going to blame the teacher. I was
mean,
going to say,
teacher.
I
right,
mean, I still
right?
blame her because she
You
was no
fucking
help.
teacher.
Yeah.
Like literally, I
But now
didn't-
it's just you knowing it all.
right.
Yeah.
And just, well, here's the real kicker. Last year, I didn't pass the class by 0.31%.
Oh my
disgusting.
God.
She
I
wouldn't
know.
let me pass by
That is
0.31%.
disgusting.
Yeah.
You, teacher, should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, she was not the most helpful.
Although that just
Ugh.
shows how much better of a PT she's going to be.
That's true.
yeah,
right,
I will
right.
say, like, again, like being the only class I was taking this semester, like I could really focus on the material at hand.
Yeah.
And it's an orthopedic oriented class, which is what I want to go into.
Yeah.
So now I actually like know the stuff and like I can actually recall it. And I was like, wow, I actually know this.
Yeah.
Shut
Well, you
up.
don't have
Yeah.
anything else to worry about except for
Right.
this one class
Right.
and
Right.
coaching, right?
Right.
You're still coaching. So
Yeah.
you, it's a little less maybe on the brain.
Right. And
Although
then-
you like to stay busy, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But-
So, but I will say, like, I've got really organized. I got a planner this year, and I literally like wrote time in my planner of when I was gonna study. So I will say, like, actually setting that up was super helpful. But going back to your question about needing to fail, last year after I failed this class, I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I don't want to do physical therapy anymore. Like, this is not worth it to me because my mental health was in the toilet.
Yeah.
I was extremely depressed. I was in a very, very dark place. I don't think I've ever been in such a bad place before, this time last year. So I ended up leaving school. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Take a little break.
Yeah. So then I ended up moving to Oklahoma with Harrison.
Yeah.
And I was there for about 6 months. I got my first taste of a big girl job. It wasn't what I wanted to do though. It was a job because the thing was my undergrad, my bachelor's was in exercise science, and there's not much that you can do with that besides being like a personal trainer or a fitness instructor. And like, yes, I was an athlete my whole life, but fitness is not my passion.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Right.
you have to have a very big passion to do something like that. So then I was doing like medical sales, and it was okay. Like again, like my competitiveness, like wanting to like make the most sales and stuff, like it was a huge advantage. And then knowing the medical background I had compared to the people I was working with who didn't have it, they all had business or sales degrees. I will say that was also a huge benefit, but like, I hate doing sales because I take everything personally. Like if I don't get a sale, it's like, why didn't I do better? And like,
What do you mean you don't want to buy it?
right. Right. And I would blame myself, and then my self-esteem would go up and down as a
Oh,
roller
man.
coaster. I was like,
Yeah.
I can't do this. But the thing that really made me want to go back to school was my roommate freshman year. She was also in the PT program with me. And because I decided to take my own path through school, she graduated last May. And she posted a picture on her Facebook stories it was just her leaning over her table doing documentation with a patient who was doing the exercises. And I was like, damn, that should be me. Like I should be in that position. Like I need to be a physical therapist. And like, I'm not a quitter. I don't quit anything.
Right.
So like,
just took a break. That's all.
Yeah. So about November, I decided, I was like, you know what? Like I need to do this. Otherwise I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. And like Harrison said the same thing. Like if you don't do this, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. So the fact that I did go back and I'm doing much better now. And like, all I really have left now are clinicals. Like I have a couple classes I have to take in the fall, but the rest of it is like in the field, learning hands-on and like really applying what I've spent the last several years learning. So I've always been a very kinesthetic learner. So doing things hands-on and things like that. I've always thrived in that kind of setting. So now actually getting to do that daily, I think will really help me be a great physical therapist.
I wonder how many people fail the first test and then just never go back, but then they dream of it forever.
I'm sure.
Right?
I'm sure.
I mean, I don't have the stats in front of me, but
if I would have just done this,
yeah.
we all
there's a
have
lot
those
of us
moments.
like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think about if what I did in life was right. I feel pretty happy where I am, in life. I'm okay with how my life is going, what I'm doing, stuff like that. But even I still think like, what if I did do that instead,
Harrison, what do you do?
He's like, hold on, I was very intent.
Hold on, edit that. No.
I'm in a bit of a career change myself.
Oh, okay.
So currently I'm a teacher's assistant at Conant High School.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm in the special education department,
Fun.
which is a very humbling experience.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm like fun, and he's like very humbling.
No, it is gratifying to work with the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, just like I've done the coaching thing, I've played college baseball as well. And so working with the kids now, it is a good, humbling experience.
Yeah.
But I'm currently working with a couple of different police departments trying to get on with that.
Good.
Which, with those of you listening to this, if you're trying to get onto the police department, please be very prepared to open up your entire life.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
If you stole a pen when you were 5 years old,
they
know about it.
Oh, my gosh.
That's crazy.
Oh, no. They want to know when you get out of bed, what foot you put down first. Like that's,
Wow.
like they want to know everything in your life.
I will definitely never be a police officer.
We would be in a lot of trouble if they needed us on the force.
Oh, yeah. No. And, coming back to kind of like the anxiety thing, it is a very high anxiety job.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And Kylie and I have sat down and had this conversation of, if God forbid, if something did happen, would you be able to handle that? And, is this something that, I want to provide for my family? And is this something that you can, not affect you, but is this something you can live with? And I think we both agreed that, I mean, it's a good career path and that it should be pursued.
Yeah, very good. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Lots of anxiety with that job.
Yeah, for
well,
sure.
Of course, you can never really prepare for it. Like you just have to be like, okay, like if this is what you
Every
want to do, like
day.
I'm going to support you and like things like that.
Yeah.
Like obviously, we're going to pray for the best and hope the worst never comes.
Right.
But
Right.
again, like you do have to have that thought in the back of your mind that something may go wrong.
Oh, now all of a sudden I have anxiety. Just
Good
thinking about
Lord.
it.
Good Lord.
Where's the Zoloft?
Yeah.
You can't necessarily prepare yourself for trauma. I mean, it just
No.
Right.
I've had a lot of recent trauma, and it's just to the point where you just have to take it, and you have to take it with a grain of salt and just move forward.
How do you feel you handle trauma?
Yeah, because
Just in life and in
I just
working.
laugh about it.
I'm still trying to figure that out.
sad.
Yeah.
I had a really bad identity crisis, or not identity theft. I am a straight male.
I was just going to say like, oh, okay, let's open up this bag of worms now. Okay.
And no, I mean,
it's a 2-part podcast.
Hey.
Oh my God.
Awesome.
It was funny. I was just at the doctor's office, and I was seeking some help for a therapist. I mean, I'm an only child, and I've always learned to deal with my problems by myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I've sit in a room, think about what I just went through, and then just deal with it.
Yeah.
I never really had a brother or a sister to just talk about these things with. So going to see a doctor was a pretty big step for me.
Yeah.
And It's funny, I made that same mistake in the doctor's office. It's like, well, I'm having a bit of an identity crisis. It's like, okay, doc, straight male identity theft crisis.
Identity theft
Yes.
crisis.
And how did you feel seeing the doctor? Like,
So I got the referral to go see the therapist, but I couldn't quite execute that referral because I had a family thing pop up recently, and that I'm really, really working through that right now because it's a huge trauma.
yeah. See, it's almost like you need a therapist.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, you really need it.
And as you get older, you realize your bottle's only so big, and it can only hold so much. And once it starts to overflow, it's like, oh shit.
Now what?
Now my whole life is starting to be affected. I'm starting to carry around this huge burden that
you kind of have to pick and choose what's going to affect you.
Yeah.
And just be like, you know what? I can't even deal with that right now. I'm just putting that on the back burner.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And it's one of those that you just have to just keep moving. And I try to tell myself a lot, you just have to keep moving. I've told Kylie a lot, you just have to keep moving. You have to go back to class. You have to do this.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with seeking
power
a therapist.
No,
that's
not
what
at
they're
all.
there for, right?
We should all
see
of
mine
us
once a week.
Everybody should go to one, you know.
There's quite
while.
a few of us that say, you know, the bottle's not quite full. I don't need anybody. I can do this. I'm an only child. I've been doing this on myself. Yeah, I've been independent.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with asking
I can
for some
juggle
help.
30,000 things at once. That's fine.
Yeah.
Well, it's a hard realization to ask for help. I
It
mean,
is.
In this world, a lot of people think that I can do this, but then sometimes you just can't.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
I think, and you guys are a little bit younger than me, but in our kind of generation, it's very hard as a male to ask for help, right?
Yes.
Because you're supposed to be the strong, independent one that takes care of the family and everything else. And women are almost expected to have mental breakdowns every month, you know.
See, and I always thought it was because of the men.
I mean, it probably is, but yeah, so it, you know, especially if you're a male and you're having issues, like, absolutely reach out. Like, nobody's going to think less of you.
No.
It's taken me a year to get him to see somebody.
Okay.
He's finally doing it.
You know what? I'm so proud of both of you.
Yeah.
Yes. Very proud of both of you.
I think part of it too is like he's seen like how much better I've gotten with
Yeah.
therapy. Like,
Yeah.
He was with you when you were at your
You have to
lowest
have the right therapist, though.
Absolutely.
I've been through a couple that I fired.
Absolutely.
I was like, nope, this is not going anywhere.
Right.
They
And
just
I'm
yell
actually
at
on a
you
break
and you're
right
like,
now.
I don't need this right now.
Well, their ideas of, you know, well, I'm going to tell you what's going on. It's like,
No.
no. You really do have to find the right one. And it's okay to kind of therapist shop.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My thing was I did therapy when I was younger because I was bullied, unfortunately, quite a bit. So like I think that's also where my self-esteem issues came from. But
I wish somebody would have gotten me a therapist.
I didn't want to go to it though because I was like, talking's not going to solve anything. Like I could talk about it all I want, but every time I talk about it, it would make me upset and then it would put me in a bad mood. And like, I don't want to be in a bad mood. I didn't want to talk about it.
You didn't want to think about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas like now, like I found that talking to my therapist about whatever's bothering me, like it does help because I mean, they're an unbiased third party, so they have to take what I say as the truth. So then they're on my side.
Yes.
Right. It's so true.
But at the same time, my therapist that I have now, I told her, she's like, what do you need from me, like, to make this effective? And I was like, I don't like just talking. Like, I need things to do. Like, I'm a very action-oriented person. So when we started out, she gave me, like, homework of, like, things to do.
That's great.
Because I was also seeing her because I have really severe OCD. One of them being I'm obsessed with multiples of 5. Like if the radio or the volume on the TV is not a multiple of 5,
like that too.
I get physically uncomfortable. Like Harrison can even attest to that because sometimes he'd do it as like a joke to see like how long it would take me to
Put
change
it on
the remote.
23.
You see that foot just tapping, like, turn that fucking volume.
Like he's not lying. Like he thought it was so funny. So then like
Again, the men causing the drama.
but like that's what she was like, okay, like I want you to try and like set the TV time like or volume at a certain number that's not a multiple of 5 and
Lord.
time yourself to how long you can keep it there before you feel like you have to change it. And like it did help. Like I got longer and longer and then eventually
I was like
you forget about
35
it.
seconds.
Right.
You know?
But like I was a very action oriented person. Like I needed things to do. So like she would send me like worksheets to fill out like during the week. Like anytime like I was feeling like super depressed, like try and like break down like why I was feeling this way, what caused it. And like I've become super reflective because of that. I was never a huge reflective person. Like I hate goal setting and being like, well, did you achieve your goals? Because then I'd be upset if I didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. The truck just went by.
We got the windows open
because it's beautiful.
So just like having things to do and then holding me accountable for me wanting to get better. Because like, again, like if I didn't want to get better and just talking, like that's not going to solve anything.
No,
and it's a waste of their time and it's a waste of my time. So figuring out like what helps you, as well as like a good therapist that's willing to do that work with you, for you, is super, super important.
Yeah. When you said she sent you home with worksheets, I thought it was like a crossword with words like sunshine, happy.
No, not quite. But I will say, like, because of, I mean, I've been in therapy for about 3, almost 4 years now. Because part of it was I started out with my sports performance anxiety. Because, like, again, my fear of diving for balls, because she was a sports-specific psychologist. But then COVID ended my 2020, my senior season. So then my identity as a softball player, like, was gone.
Right.
And I didn't know how to process that. Like, softball was my life growing up. And like, I liked it. Like, it was, many times it was a cause of stress and anxiety and all those terrible emotions. It was also a relief. Like, especially in college, like, I really enjoyed going to practice and like, just working out, because again, working out helps a lot with depression too. So it's just hard when you don't have the motivation to go work out, because I've been in that point too. But especially with softball, even though I was depressed, like I had to go to practice, but I always felt better afterwards.
Yeah.
So I saw her because of that. But then once my season ended, we were trying to figure out like what my new quote unquote identity was.
I was gonna like your obsession. What's your new obsession?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And then with COVID just like shutting everything down, like it was hard for everybody.
Yeah.
So being able to transition from sports psychology to clinical psychology, luckily my therapist was trained in both. So we were able to make that easy transition. And then unfortunately, she graduated because at my university, we were working with doctoral students. Okay. So they're getting like their clinic hours while still working towards their doctorate. So unfortunately she graduated, but then she paired me up with who I have now. And I've been with her for about 2 years, because my first therapist knew how I was. Like, she's like, I think you will get along great with this person. And I love her.
Amazing.
Good.
I love her.
So good.
And whenever I'm not doing well here, she'll be like, when are you seeing Monica?
Hey.
Like, you need to go talk to her.
Yeah, yeah.
He knows what heals you.
Yeah.
So you're very passionate on your Facebook page.
Yeah.
What would be your one piece of advice you would give to anybody that's going through any kind of stresses?
I know I was sick of hearing this, but like, it's true. Like, things get better.
Yeah.
Like, it will pass. I just like, sometimes it seems like there's no end in sight. And like, believe me, I've been there. My depression has gotten really bad where I was about ready to just like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't see myself getting out of this. And like, I've gotten to that point, and it's really scary to get there, because the thing that bothers me is when people say like, oh, it's selfish, but like, you don't understand like what that person's going through.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Obviously it's going to affect all the people around them, but like, there's like, when you're in that state of mind, like, you're suffering, like, you're so miserable that you feel like you can't go on. You don't want to at this point. Like, my life's over. I really just don't want to continue on. Like, if it's been this bad up to this point, where the next 50, 60, 70 years going to be like.
Yeah.
But being able to see a therapist or find resources that can help you, just learning how to cope, it will get better. Sometimes are longer than others, but like, it will get better. Everything takes time. Like, you're not going to grow a tree in one day. Like, that takes time too. You have to, same with plants. Like, you have to nourish them. You have to give them what helps them grow.
Right.
And I think the hardest part for most people is finding those resources.
Yeah.
Because like, again,
or finding the motivation in order to do the things that you know are going to make you feel better.
Right. Exactly. So
Yeah.
that's one thing that my therapist and I did too, was we would like plan out a week, and I would write down one thing each day that I had to do. Like, even if I didn't want to like cook, like, I'm not a cook. I make a mean pizza in the oven, but that's about it.
Same.
Like, I'm really good at making pizzas
something
in the
on the
oven.
list, like
like I would
cook food,
or like go for a 20-minute walk or things like that. So like, I had to do something each day just to get me out of bed. But like, again, if I didn't feel like doing it, like, I knew that I made a promise to my therapist that I was going to at least try and attempt to do it. And then again, it was just something to take your mind off of what was going on and just be present. Because a lot of times, like, I dwell a lot on the past. Like, I still get upset when I think about not passing gross anatomy the first time, or like what happened last year, because I don't do well with failure. again, why I played softball, I have no idea. But I think at the same time,
because even when you were bad, you were good.
Exactly. Because it's like, oh, like I went 2 for 3, like 3 games in a row. And it's like, okay, so that means you went 6 for 9.
Oh my gosh. And then she throws the 5s in there and forget about it.
Right. So then it's just like, okay, yeah, I was a huge numbers person, unfortunately, because that's how I measured my worth, like to my teammates. It's like, am I hitting good enough? Like, is my batting average good enough?
Yeah. So it will get better.
Yeah, it'll get better. It does take time, but you also have to want to get better. Like you said, like if you don't want to put in the effort to try and make yourself feel better, you're not going to.
Right.
Because I was the same way. Like being the oldest child, like I was like, I can do anything on my own. I'm super independent. And like I would bottle things up, and like a lot of times people didn't know that I was struggling because I got very good at masking it.
Yeah.
So just learning how to be vulnerable and like asking people like for help. It's very hard because I was very against it for the longest time. But like once you do, that's when things start to get better, because then people know that you're struggling. People want to help you. They don't want to see you suffer.
Right. Right.
So just knowing that you have people in your corner and that people want to help you, all you have to do is ask.
I think when you do succeed, people are in your corner as well.
Yeah.
I think there's more people out there that want to see you succeed and do better.
I like to think that people want us to succeed.
Yeah, I think so.
You know, sometimes there's
Harrison, piece of advice for all that are listening.
Careful who you trust.
Okay.
Ooh.
Very good.
Yeah.
So in life,
Like it.
unfortunately, a lot of people, and like a lot of people, have learned the hard way that you may put too much trust into an individual that leads you to believe that they have their best interest for you. But in the end, they're in it for their own gain. And so to the people out there, just, red flags are there for a reason. And listen to your gut, because that's the one person that won't screw you over.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Listen to your gut. Listen to some of the outside factors and just be aware of your surroundings of what's going on.
Yeah.
Because if you do that, you'll be able to take care of yourself. And I mean, it was a mistake that I made. I put too much trust into a person. Ultimately, it didn't work out in my favor.
Yeah.
But it will get better.
It will get better.
As much as I have heard that, yes, it will eventually get better.
It takes time.
takes
And I'll be honest, I'm not the most patient person.
No, I don't
so
think
I
any of
understand
us
that,
are.
but
I'm not very patient
What did Miley
either.
Cyrus say? Life's a climb, but the view is great.
Oh my
Yes.
And we'll end it there. Amazing.
You kind of sounded like Miley too when you said it. She's got that raspy voice.
Oh no! Now,
yeah.
oh yeah. So anyway,
I
we
buy
get the
myself
best of both
flowers.
worlds.
Yeah, why does she sound like that?
I
now?
don't know.
Oh, all
I
right.
smoke too much.
Yeah.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
I smoke a lot. I don't sound like that.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
for
you,
being
guys.
here.
Thank you for having
Amazing.
us.
Thank you. All right, bye.
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 See ya.